downstairs. I thought you guys would be up here already, so I texted down.
Yeah, I threw that out.
Oh, okay. My brain hurts. Should not have eaten that cupcake.
I'm leaving that alone.
Thank you.
She says thank you before I even say I'm leaving it alone. She knew exactly where I was going.
We're on.
All set? Okay, no need to delay, right? We can get right going. Okay. All right, welcome to the February 15th Board of Selectmen meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Okay. So we got a few things we're going to do, but our main objective is to join the Fincomm at what? 7. Okay, so we get 20 minutes. Apologies, boys, for being late again. I shouldn't say late again. Again, apologize for being late. Okay, any citizens' petitions and statements? Doesn't look like it. Nope. Okay. Any correspondence? I don't think we have any correspondence either, do we? Ms. Newman?
I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, that gets us right on to ambulance reserve. Okay, you want to just take us through that quickly?
Sure. Actually, the town accountant is here, and the chief, and the assistant fire chief, to talk about
Okay.
this. I need to go print this.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a lot of money. Holy moly.
I'll put you in the middle.
Oh, thank you. So, June of last year, Jackie from Coastal sent us a report of all the uncollectibles as of June 2016. So Mark and...
So just for anybody that might not know what that means, can you please define uncollectibles for us,
Yeah.
please?
Uncollectible is where we bill them for a service. In this case, it's ambulance service, and they have not paid us, either the insurance company or the patient.
Okay, so uncollectible means we've deemed them to be useless to attempt further to collect, is that what you mean?
Possible, yes. So we're here to kind of discuss if we want to take any strategy, and that's why Dave and Mark are here.
Okay.
Or if we want to go ahead and write them off. So that's what we're here to discuss.
Over what period is this 118,000, almost 119,000 we're talking about? Like, what would be the oldest one?
It could be greater than 2005.
Oh, wow,
So I
okay.
just did a quick summary.
So look at it, 12 years.
Yes. I did a summary by
Thank you.
fiscal year.
Thank you.
So if you look at this column, the uncollectible total, that will tell you by fiscal year to kind of give you an idea.
It sounds to me like we probably should be calling that uncollected, because maybe there is a way to collect it. It's not that it's impossible to collect, it's just if we want to bother, right?
Possible.
Okay.
Yep, so what, I don't know, I can go through this. According to Jackie, they bill the patient 6 times throughout this period. In addition, they also make an attempt to contact the patient for insurance information, because we're trying to collect insurance too before the patient. They do that through a letter and also a phone call. And they also attempt to call the hospital to get information and the insurance company. So that's kind of some of the steps that they do. In addition, Mark can probably talk further. I know some have been sent to the chief, and they were working with an attorney to try to collect some of the more current ones. So maybe you can speak to that.
In 2015, we hired, through the town, Johnson Law, which basically they were just given motor vehicle crashes that weren't collected and personal injury calls that weren't collected.
Yeah.
And they were successful to a point. Overall, between the two of them, they only collected about $3,000 with all the claims that we gave them.
And what did they get, a
Although we were able
third?
to get some, you know,
Yeah.
they can only do so much
Yeah.
with what they're eligible to do. Now, going forward, what we did to help Coastal is once a motor vehicle crash comes, the patient care report comes across my desk, I also attach the police officer's report that shows the insurance information for the vehicles involved. I give that to Coastal as well, so they can now have that insurance information right away. As soon as I get the bill, we send it up to them, which helps. But those are only motor vehicle crashes. It's just a small amount of what we send up to them.
So I'm getting kind of old, so when I need an ambulance, if I don't want to pay, I just don't pay, and then
That's kind of what the theme is.
you'll give up. Is that it?
So,
We give up after 6 tries.
I know, I'm just asking a question.
You know you got good insurance, so we're not worried about you.
so this is the first time that I've looked at this report, but I see a lot of different towns in here. So I see Uxbridge, Douglas. Are those all mutual aid calls on those?
Most
Okay.
likely, yes.
All right.
Just to give you an
They
idea.
came to our aid or the other way around?
No, we would go.
We went to them.
Calls in their town as well.
And then one other question is, then I see here, another column here says, I'm going pretty quickly, but patient guarantee, stuff like that. What's that, Mark? What says?
What page are you on?
It says, well, it's on a lot of pages, but if you go to page 2 and you look,
The one that says 205? Is that
205, and you go down, it's middle of the page, you'll see it says patient slash, and it looks like it must be guarantee, I would
I
assume.
think that's just the current payer,
That's
which
the-
is the patient.
The patient itself, so it's maybe, could be through insurance, it could not be, maybe it's
Well,
individual.
they've tried to collect through insurance, and now they're trying to collect from the patient.
Okay.
So they always try to collect from the insurance first.
I got you. And so, all right, so taking that question one step further, then, does that mean that the insurance was unsuccessful and now that has been transferred to the patient itself?
The insurance denied payment,
And the insurance denied payment?
yes. So some of these are like Mass Health, and Mass Health doesn't cover ambulance.
I got you.
Oh, and that's why the
Service.
denial, yeah, okay.
So there's various reasons, Mark, you
Plus,
probably know better
we
than
have to
I do.
accept what Medicare and Medicaid agrees to pay us. So we may pay, and we may bill $1,000, but if Medicare says you're only gonna get paid $500 for that, you have to accept that.
Yeah,
Okay, so I would have thought, though, that we would have retired that debt that was unpayable by, oh, no, do we just send the patient their bill for the rest?
Most of the time we do, yes.
And
And that's
that's
why
what
you
this
see
is.
some of those hardship letters that come across for $30, $50,
Yeah.
it's the balance of the bill.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, some of the people that are on there have passed away, and we may not even be able to collect from their estate. There's not a lot of them, but those are just the things that are all in that mix. To give you an idea, Hopedale was going through this last year. They had $34,000 outstanding since 2007. They decided to go to a collection agency to try to collect some of that.
Sorry, who did this?
Hopedale.
And do you know how well they did?
No, I don't.
well, I was gonna ask the same question, really, is can we go to collections? You know, I don't think that
Even
I
if we
would,
get pennies on the dollar, I mean, we do it.
well, it's more than just writing off
I
$118,000.
think in that article, we looked at it, there was a bill for 34,000 and they got 4. Well, you got 4.
Yeah, for,
It's better than writing off 34.
Well, also then there wouldn't be none, sorry, let me see if I say this the right way. There wouldn't be no consequence to not paying because at least you'd have a credit mark, right, on your TRW or whatever, right?
Yeah. And then there's some of them I'm looking at here, I mean, we probably, maybe should develop a policy, looking at some of the people we've arrested, and they're on probation now. If we bring this to the court, I'm sure we can say, hey, look, they owe us medical bills, they're on probation, they need to pay this. And go forward with the court on that angle, too.
yeah, I mean, so who would actually vet through the list and, because obviously there's different strategies for different situations, right?
Yeah.
So how do you vet through that list to make that determination of how you
I think
collect?
we almost probably could go back a certain amount, you're gonna probably have to write off a certain amount of years, maybe look at going back 4 or 5 years for collections, and then if we develop a policy going forward with the new fire chief and myself, that we look at it maybe quarter, and then at quarterly, if you're looking at this, probably only a short list, and I can look and go, okay, look, we arrested these guys, I know they're on probation, I'm going to the court officer, and then the rest is yours to decide what you're gonna do with it. Just so at least we're being proactive about it, something, I mean, it's a 15-minute probably conversation you have quarterly about something like that, versus waiting 10 years.
So were you done, Mr. Burke?
I was just going to ask, in respect to the fiscal years, I see a 10-year look, but is that calendar year, or is that fiscal year, and how you list
I
that out?
sorted them by fiscal year.
That's sorted, so this is fiscal year 2005, it's not fiscal year 2006?
Yeah, 2005 fiscal year.
Okay, so, because I see you stop at 2015, so we're in fiscal year.
Well,
Skip
this report-
2006, too.
Yeah, so there was no, well, 2006 could be in the greater than 10 years. So they have a receivable that's been on our books for $10,417, that there's no, it was the old billing system, so they have no breakout of what that is.
Bless you.
And that balance, bless you.
Excuse me, yeah, thank you.
That balance, they've recommended, I guess, many times to be written off. So at this point, that the breakout, unless you have something on it, they don't have the breakout of that.
And beyond then too, I don't even know, when do we get an ambulance?
2001.
Yeah, so it's a couple of years of it there anyways, 3 or 4 years tops.
Is there a financial benefit to writing this stuff off?
I don't think so.
No.
I think we should go to a collection
Okay.
I mean,
agency.
Other than
it doesn't-
closing it out and stop worrying about it.
It's on the balance sheet, it looks like it's revenue that we're gonna get, and we're not possibly going to, so I think we either need to address it and decide what we're gonna do
Gotcha.
with it, so we can have a fair representation of what we're truly going to collect.
I don't know how you feel, Rich, and Mark, but I would say that I'm not willing to give up so easy. I mean, I wouldn't mind looking at a collections agency, a good collection agency that has experience in this, that, listen, they do this every day, this is how they make their revenue, is by taking a percentage of the collection rate. Even if we got $4,000 back, it's better than nothing. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but unless there was some strong financial reason
Yeah.
why we'd want to close this out right now and write it off, which it doesn't sound like there is. In a corporation, there could be a strong benefit to writing this off, you see what I'm saying?
So, but I got a couple more questions, I think, before I'm
Yeah.
ready to say one way or another. So, were you done with your
Yeah,
questions for the
yeah,
moment? Okay, so, I guess, so looking at this, it looks like, we can kind of establish looks like the last, since 2010, so let's call it the last 6 years or so, we've been at a run rate of north of $10,000, $11,000 a year of unpaid. Now, that's on volume of what?
If you look on.
Oh, that's
right-
the other column,
Yeah,
okay.
so what I did, just to have a metric, is I took the uncollectible by fiscal year against the ambulance revenue, so you can
Okay.
kind of see. So you can see that 2010 was high at 11%, but that's when we had the market drop around 2009. And
Okay,
then
so we're running 5 to 10% of whatever it is we're
Yeah.
not collecting.
looks around 9 in the past.
What last two? I don't see it, which last two you talking about, Dave?
Oh, no, never mind.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so, the only other question I have is there any evidence that we did anything about this prior to now?
I mean,
mean, like-
I'm not aware of anything. so
Do you know what
I
I'm
would have
saying?
to
Like,
ask them.
I'm just kind of surprised that all of a sudden we're looking at 12 years of this.
I think 2015 is the only time anybody did anything.
That's
I think
what
Mark
my-
was on top of that,
Right.
so.
Prior to that, I don't remember the exact year, but Dale was the administrator at the time with that board, and they just decided to write off whatever we had at that time. It wasn't a ton of money, but whatever the amount was, it was back when Dale was the administrator. That's the only other time I remember addressing this.
Okay, but is it your opinion that from a accounting standpoint, we should long ago have done something about this?
Yeah, I think you should review this annually and take some type of
I'm
action.
quite surprised, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Coastal Medical, are they a pretty aggressive billing company?
Yes.
Okay,
They're used by hundreds of fire departments.
okay.
So,
I just don't know. If
Lisa, do you think that it was recommended that we write this off yearly or looked at yearly by the auditor in the past, do you think? Or is this something that,
I don't know, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised the management letter we get, that wouldn't say, I suggest you blah, 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 or
right?
Ryan wouldn't have said something, I don't know, yeah, but,
Yeah,
okay.
but I thought we could view it annually. But
right,
I
well-
think on some of these, like if they're deceased, I think I would recommend that we write those off. And to Dave's point, some of the years, greater than 10 years, 2005, we might consider writing those off and just sending the more, maybe the past 5 years to a collection agency.
Okay, so I'd like to entertain some kind of solution like that. That makes sense to me, you're right? Because we're just gonna send a collection agency after a fool's errand after a certain age of these, you know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
You'll never get them.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know what that,
I mean,
I mean, I kind of had in mind just
going
10,
back 5 years.
2000. I just thought 2010 forward, but
Yeah.
I can find out how many years we can even go back. I'm sure there's statute of limitations on what we can collect anyways.
Mr. Morelli, you had a comment?
I know I just walked in, Mr. Chairman. Are you talking about collectibles from ambulance runs?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because when I first got on the Fincomm and you were the chairman, we discussed this at length probably 3 years ago. And what the public safety director at the time told us was that there was some of it was not recoverable and we couldn't go after it. So it has something we have discussed in the fairly recent past.
Yeah, but I guess what I was commenting on was less that and more, we should have done something from an accounting perspective
Yeah.
prior to now. That's all I was saying, yeah. But anyway, okay, so good. So I think I agree. But shouldn't we maybe the next move be really to have Lisa and yourself put together the specific proposal? Okay, let's go back only this far, and then let's ask these guys to go and...
Right. I mean, I was thinking of just a couple of years. I mean, the rest of it, write it off. I mean, anything that's within a reasonable time period, maybe 2015, 2014.
Well,
No, February.
looking back to 2010, you've got, from 2010 through 15, it's well over
huge.
10,000. Anything before then is under. So I would start at 2010 and go forward.
Okay.
That's kind of what I was thinking, too.
Yeah.
We have a next district meeting, Mark and I are going to with all the district fire chiefs at the end of February. So if you want, we can get together with town administrator after we poll the chiefs at that meeting and see what they do for collection agencies and how far they go back. Just at least give that to you for information and see what all the Worcester County Fire Departments do.
I'd like to entertain a recommendation from this team.
Absolutely.
So I think
No,
that's,
I
yeah.
think that's the right way to do it.
Okay?
Yeah.
You okay with that, Kimberly?
Good with that.
Okay, good. So let's put a fork in that item, and then we get a couple of minutes, but I don't think the last 3 items are going to take us very long. I have to admit, I don't quite understand some of them, so I read them a couple of times, and I wasn't quite sure why we were doing some of the things we're doing. So if you could take us through it a little bit.
Okay. I'll speak to what I know, but really Laura is the expert.
Oh, okay, well, that's fine. Laura can help us through it. All right, well, let's start with Jen Welch. That one's pretty straightforward and simple. Why don't you go ahead and just make that motion, and then we'll...
Which one you want?
We're on item 6.
You mean Linda first?
Yeah, you missed 5.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
So I move to rescind the appointment of Linda Hawks from the Taxation Aid Committee.
Second?
Okay,
So we actually don't even need to make this motion. We researched that the appointment is actually for the position and not for the individual. There was some confusion between our office and the town clerk's office as to whether or not the person had to be, but language from town council says that we don't have to do anything. It's
So we don't have to do
automatically-
either 5 or 6?
Yes, we don't have to do either.
That's
It's
what I'm saying.
automatically transferred.
Okay.
To the
So just
person.
explain that to anybody who might be listening at home. The Taxation Aid Committee and the segment of the chapter and section of law that pertains to that formation of that committee requires that one of the members be the tax collector. Obviously, the tax collector has left. We have a new tax collector, and that new tax collector needs to be...
Treasurer.
Thank you. Treasurer needs to be on that committee.
Correct.
Okay? All right, so you're saying we voted the function in, so there's no need to vote a specific person out and a specific person in, so we'll skip by that then, and let's move then on to the appointment of Lynn Roberts to this historical committee. That seems pretty straightforward. So,
Yeah, it was too bad that we didn't know this a week ago, but consider rescinding the appointment
About
of...
7.
yes, that's where he's going.
Yeah. So, actually, do I have a motion?
Next page.
Right here, I'm sorry. I move to rescind the appointment of Kathleen Schofield, made on 1/23/17 as an alternate member of the Mendon Historical Commission.
Second?
Okay, any discussion there?
Any explanation on that?
We received a letter from the chairman of the historical committee that there were 2 vacancies on the committee, and then we received letters from the 2, one stepping down and then one asking to move into an alternate position, and so we made motions to the effect, but we needed to make some previous motions before they could move into those spots, and so this corrects the order in which those appointments get made.
Okay, why can't Mrs. Schofield simply resign? I don't ever recall.
She could, but she didn't.
She doesn't.
So they didn't have a resignation, so her vacancy wasn't present.
Okay. All right.
So technically, she's still on the committee.
I presumed,
And she talked to me about it, she wants to stay in the position that she's in right now, anyway. So
Right,
she doesn't
so-
want to resign, so there won't be an opening, and she won't become an alternate member.
Right, so we don't need to do 7 either, because essentially it's a invalid motion, and that was made.
okay, just when I thought I understood.
She's staying in her spot on the historic.
Nothing's
committee.
changing.
Nothing has changed.
Fine, so skip that one.
Yes.
All right, so is the same story true of Thomas Morali?
No,
Oh, we gotta go to Lynn Roberts
right.
first.
Oh, they skip, oh, sorry. I continue to be one ahead with every... Okay. Okay, so explain the other 2 rescindings then, for me, if you could.
Well, because we didn't have 2 vacancies that those 2 people would have filled, we can't appoint them. We have 1 vacancy, but when the motion was made, it was made for a longer period of time than what that vacancy allows, because that is Jane Lowell's seat that will expire June 30th of 2019. So because the commission was expecting to appoint, or wanting to appoint these 2 people, they've got to decide which person will take that 1 vacancy.
Okay, so what we're really doing is rescinding a vote we made because we, at the end of the day, we ended up with too many people,
Right,
and now they've got to work on who they want, and then they'll come back to us, and then we'll vote them back in.
that's correct.
And it's all because,
Understood.
it's all because Kathleen didn't resign first. She had, in order for it to go in order, Kathy would have had to resign. We could have appointed her as an alternate at that point. So the clerk did not receive a letter of resignation, so technically she's still on the committee.
Okay.
All right?
All right, so do we need to vote 8 and 9?
We do, because they were appointed and we need to rescind those.
Okay, so 5, 6, and 7, no need to do,
Right.
8 and 9 need to do.
Correct.
Okay, Mr. Burke.
All right, so I move to rescind the appointment of Lynn Roberts, made on 1/23/17, as a member of the Mendon Historical Commission.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
I move to rescind the appointment of Thomas Morali, made on 1/23/17, as a member of the Mendon Historic Commission.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right,
Okay.
cool. All right, so now we're going to stand down, and the Finance Committee will start their meeting. Pat, are you going to stay around to continue filming for the FinCom? Thank you.
So grab all the copies.
Don't you guys go away, I need something. What's that? I need something.
I'm going to stay for the movie.
I need something for this one.
I'm gonna stay in the audience. No, I'll go.
I will, get the papers yet? Not yet. What are you doing?
Are we doing that? Shake your
Hi there. How are you? I've just requested the microphone is up. Chair, closer to you.
Okay, is she, was she gonna record?
Kim has asked her to record.
You ready?
Like the Patriots? I don't know.
Yeah.
three and a half quarters sat there like this for a while.
Yeah, everyone was. Hey, Gene.
So I have budgets here, balanced, and then I also have senior center colored detail ones, so you guys can see them a little bit better. And I'll sit out there, maybe like a dozen, I'll take some out there, just, but, you know, if you want to be able to actually see the senior center's detail, it's on this sheet, okay?
You sound better.
I am way better, thank you. I have
Yes.
survived it, I think. I don't know how,
Mike, you want that, Mike?
There you
but,
go.
please get on.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just, made a detail that's in your line. Remember me?
Should be. 114? Oh, no, this is a color detail. Senior center.
Mike, how are you? How's it going? I apologize about my schedule.
I was in Nashville at 9 o'clock this morning. So I've been home long enough to grab this and...
Well, it looks the other day, and I know you were supposed to schedule, but then we didn't meet, like, for one or two of the dates, and then I looked just quick tonight, and I was like, there's a meeting, but my dad was there, so I could go.
It's good.
Candy bars, yes, candy bars.
What's that? Yeah, I guess we're going to be recorded tonight.
But I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Is it already on?
Let's call this meeting to order. 7:06, 7:07. And we'll start with the Council on Aging budget review. Amy, if your folks can come on up. What happened to my...
We're not gonna make this official.
You taking away on me?
How you been?
Good, happy New Year.
Mike, you wanna take one passport?
So thank you all for coming tonight.
Thank you for having us.
I know that you've met with the town administrator and gone through this, and what we're going to do is just have you run through it for us.
Okay. All right. Essentially, we have three requests this year as far as our line items are concerned. We have made some changes within the budget line items. For example, where we've been using less money for oil, maybe more for electricity, we've kind of adjusted the numbers accordingly. But to go line item by line item, we have, and I have with me my chairman, Kevin Redden, and my board member, Peg Noguera. I want to thank them for coming tonight. And there'll be certain topics that they'll be giving some input or feedback on. Let's see. One major request that we have asked for, we did put it in our budget 2 years ago, last year, when we were trying to be respectful of the, having our budget level services, level funded. This year, we find that it's really necessary that we request a clerk position to assist. We do a lot of programming. We do programming for 1,300 seniors in town. We have coordination, transportation coordination for a number of those. We have volunteer coordination. We have the senior veteran abatement program. We do benefits coordination for all ages in town, including food pantry, fuel assistance, food stamps, and we collaborate with a lot of departments. We collaborate with the fire department, the police department, the schools, local businesses, in order to get grant funding so that most of our programming is either at no cost or paid for by grants. So in order to do this, it's a really momentous task, and in running the day-to-day of the senior center, we really find it necessary to have someone to assist us in that regard. So we requested an admin assistant or clerk for 18 hours a week, and the amount here is $17,812. That's for a middle of the range pay scale there. Otherwise, we've kept our van driving position the same. I see Kim has broken it, all the salary positions out, which normally I'm used to seeing them all jumbled together, but the van driver's position is for 18 hours a week. We have 3 people that can fulfill the duties, so that if one person is out on either medical leave or vacation, sick day, otherwise, or any other such need, we have someone else to fill in. So we have 3 drivers that together make up the 18 hours a week, which is an average. Our outreach worker works 16 hours a week. The town pays for 10 of those hours. The other 6 hours, we're paying for those through a state-funded grant, okay? That outreach worker could certainly do more hours, but that's what we felt at this time. We're showing, the numbers show that we could put in more hours, but we're being conservative until future dates. So those are.
So you said that an outreach worker, 6 hours is being paid by a state grant?
Correct. That's how we started it, in order to generate some statistics to show the need for such a position, and we did that for the first 2 years, and then we submitted a budget request to the Fincomm and Board of Selectmen for 10 hours. Okay. So those are our salary line items. My position has, the director's position has been increased to 40 hours from 35, and we thank you very much. We did, make that request for a number of years, at least 5 years, and we do appreciate FinCom and the Board of Selectmen hearing our need and seeing, in response to the numbers, which Kevin had passed out our statistics to you, and I also emailed them to the FinCom members as well, just to show we are a very, very busy center. And we really we're utilizing volunteers where we can, we're utilizing the abatement program where we can, but we also have to be fair, that some of the qualified abatement people we have to share with other departments. We're starting to get more involved in the school system with our abatement workers, so again, they're not always, I can't always count on having the same person there to assist, so that's why we are looking for some stability in this clerk position. Okay.
And I'm just seeing the COA van in expenses, you dropped that from 4,000 to 2,500.
Yeah, I tried to drop it last year too. The price of gas 3 years ago was incredible. So when we did see that the price had come down in this year too, we adjusted our line item accordingly.
Well, you have a line item for fuel. That's not fuel for the van, that's fuel for the...
That's fuel oil for the building.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if we can change that title. It would be good if we did. But yes,
So when you say COA van, that's gasoline, that's fuel for the van?
That's gasoline, that's maintenance, that's repairs.
And it's just because you haven't spent the whole 4,000 previously?
Right. And
you're estimating at 2,500?
When it was 4,000, and our van was a 12-year-old van that we were putting $3,000 sometimes in repairs into it. Sometimes we were borrowing or getting money from the friends to make the repairs. But with our new van, which is not yet 5 years old, it's pretty stable, and we've had minor things done to it. Repairs made too because of our snow embankments, like we had what do you call it, Kevin, on the side of it, that was last year.
We scraped the
side protective molding came off.
Yeah, but some of
We
those,
slid in someone's icy driveway picking them up last year.
yeah, and some of them are covered by insurance, but some are not.
So the increase here is for the admin that you requested?
Yes,
Primarily, yeah.
primarily.
Primarily, right.
We do have one other increase, and that is something that we've thought very carefully about, is a $1,000 increase for training for our board members. Our board members they're deep in the trenches, and they really deserve to be educated as to, what the services are that we bring and what the potential services are that we could be bringing. And so my board chair has, made it a mission to make sure our members are educated.
There's one conference a year held by the Massachusetts Council on Aging Association. It's a 3-day conference that's held every year in October. And in the past, quite honestly, if we've wanted to go, we've paid our own way. This year, through the generosity of a local organization, we were able to pay for 3 of us to go for a day. And the stuff we learn there is invaluable. I mean, basically, we learn what other centers are doing. We learn what programs are out there. We learn, believe it or not, what vendors are out there. But more importantly, it just gives us a chance to find out what's going on and what people recommend you do for programs. We found out opportunities for grants there. I mean, I could just go on about it, but we thought since, this basically would pay for each member to go for 1 day out of the 3.
And we try to juggle it so that not all of us are going to the same workshops.
Yeah,
That way
we
can
sit
really-
down and go through the book and spread out, so we're not duplicating each other's effort.
Because they offer, probably 60-plus workshops over the course of the 3 days, and I know Peg had a few words that she'd
Well,
like to add, too.
I just wanted to say in the beginning that I am very proud to serve on the Council on Aging. My fellow board members, we all give our best, but everybody can use a little professional development. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different jobs that we did. And in going to these seminars, as Kevin said, we're getting that enhanced professional development, but more important, we learn about best practices. We're not wasting time and effort doing something that we already found out doesn't work. And it isn't like you can pick up a phone and call, say, Blackstone or Upton and have a conversation. When we go to the seminar, it is through the state of Massachusetts. You actually meet with people. They have excellent speakers. Amy was correct. We don't duplicate. If there are 60, someone sees this one, someone sees this one. We spend the whole day. We're not down there. It's not a day off, believe me. We drive down in the morning. We get there and we start at 8:30, and Amy and I'm not sure about you because I didn't end up with you, but we walked out of the place at 5:30 at night. We attended everything we possibly could. We saw the vendors, we got information to bring back to the center, and best practices. We find out what is working, and like Kevin said, with the vendors, we find out what's out there for us to utilize.
I think we're at 5 seminars a day.
Yeah.
And the thing about that, too, is a lot of the programs that we end up hosting are, we get our vendors or educators. The vendors could be just an educator, somebody from the Mass Council for the Blind, for example, that could come in and talk about, you don't have to be legally blind per se, you might have, visual issues. They can come in and talk about the free services that are available to seniors. And we have a lot of caregivers that might be coming to those, free phones that might be available to seniors. So we can, as a result of that, we bring a lot of programs back to the center that cost the town of Mendon nothing, but they are invaluable to the seniors that live here.
We just thought it fair to ask, because basically, we've been paying out of our pockets to go over the last couple of years.
And not
It's actually
everybody
limited who
can go.
goes.
Right.
And it's,
Well, I can tell you provide an invaluable service to a large segment of the town's population. We appreciate that. Does anybody have any other questions for them?
I have 3.
Okay.
Sure.
And hopefully we could just make it easy for my own understanding. So for the 10 hours that the town is funding
Yes.
for the van drivers?
Yes.
On our budget sheets, is that here in your budget, or is that somewhere else in our budget?
I'm sorry, the town is funding 10 hours for outreach. They're funding 18 hours for the van drivers.
Okay,
Okay, and I see,
It's right here under van driver.
yeah,
okay, so it's here.
A1A,
It's here in the Council of Aging?
yes.
Thank you. The second question that I have is the 18 hours of work that you're looking for the admin assistant?
Yes.
Who's currently doing that work now?
Nobody. Is, we are.
I'm doing after hours, weekends, when I can get an abatement worker to help me, but again, the person that I might be training today, I might have to give up to the town hall, to the treasurer's office tomorrow.
The other thing candidly is there are a lot of confidentiality requirements
Yes.
that we can't do with a volunteer or a temp. I don't know if you understand, but when somebody comes in for assistance, most people don't understand. We are the only social service office in the town. So people come in for any kind of assistance, it comes down to Amy and one of the COA members is trained. Sometimes these applications take hours
Okay.
to get people through for fuel assistance or something. And those hours unfortunately mean she's not running programs. I mean, we talk at meetings about, wouldn't it be great to do this program? I always feel like Debbie Downer, because I always go, okay, who's going to do it? There's no staff.
And then just to finalize on my third question, if I can direct it towards Ms. Newman. 2 weeks ago, when we sat down, there was a recommended budget and a requested budget.
Yep.
In my own copies, I don't see that anything's changed, but has anything changed here
Nope.
departmentally?
This position is still included in the list of things being recommended for funding for this fiscal year.
Thank you.
This, I think, is the third or fourth year that this position has been on the list of requested things for the department.
Thank you.
So it is included or
It's
not?
included in
It is
the
included.
recommended
It
budget.
is included, okay.
Anybody have any other questions?
Mike?
Go ahead, Mike.
It seems that the senior center's being used more and more every year that goes by.
Yes.
Is that due to the fact that we're all getting older, or are people finally
Good.
realizing that we
Very
have
good question.
quite a senior?
I'm going to let Kevin answer that because
Sure.
he's
Um,
done some good.
You know, back in 2010, when the census came out, I did some projection, they projected forward. And I remember coming to this board and the selectmen and giving out the projections. And we are ahead, if you count seniors as 60 and up, which is the federal government does, we are actually ahead of what the census projected we would be at in 2015. We're ahead of it. We do know nationwide, and this is not just Mendon, it's, as we all know, Mike, I'll single you out because we're in the same age group. We're about a year apart. The baby boomers are retiring. We know that from roughly 20, well, it depends on who you talk to, 2020, 2025 onward for the rest of the century, seniors are the population dominant group in the country, because although we don't think of it, Gen X is actually, when we crested 2030, 2040, Gen X is right behind, and this is, you know, everybody's saying this. So the numbers are going up every year. I mean, we don't serve every senior in town, we don't pretend to. And typically, people don't start coming in until they're maybe, the majority, I'd say, is 70 and up, but the numbers are up there, and they're not getting any smaller.
The 60-year-olds are coming in, but they're coming in because they're not because they're seniors, but because they want to volunteer. They want to give back.
They don't think they're seniors yet.
But I will tell you, the way that, that the population is changing with the younger folks coming in, people are attacking us from all ends. With the new phone system, we can get 3 phone calls at the same time. So sometimes when I'm there by myself, I'm talking to someone here, and my desk phone is ringing here with yet another call. People are emailing us with the wonderful website that we have that I know Margaret Bondarenko was really pushed for that. People just can go to our website, they can click on my name, my outreach worker's name, and boom, we've got a request right there that we have to. So we're communicating with people in many different ways.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest issues we have is we have an awful lot of children of seniors calling.
Yes, or emailing.
Some who live as far away as California, calling and saying, you know, can you look after my mom or dad, or does this person need help, or does that person need help?
Is there something that you want to vote on?
And I think it's interesting. And it's also, you know, there's a higher need as people get older, and we're dealing with people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. That's
Yes.
4 decades of people, all with different needs.
We also have a lot of families moving to Mendon with their parents living with them. We also have people living in Mendon that the parents are coming to live in an in-law apartment situation. So we're finding that, the need is growing. It's very different than just...
And the needs are different at each generation, and candidly, we're not really addressing the needs of people in their 60s. They want different things. The more active, younger seniors, people like myself who say we're not seniors, they're people who are going to a private gym every day and doing things that we can't dream of offering, nor are we trying to. But we're trying to meet the needs of those we serve in the 70s, 80s, and 90s.
But also, we have a lot of 60-year-olds coming to us that have lost their jobs, and that suddenly find they're having to go into their 401K, their retirement plan. They don't know how they're going to pay for oil this year. And we have to be very respectful for the person that's been working for, decades professionally, and all of a sudden, and I've seen it to both individuals and a couple, both spouses, where they both lose their jobs, and so we're trying to help them kind of get on track so that they can pay their oil bill, they can have some food in their cupboards. But it's very interesting. It's not just bingo at the senior center. As a matter of fact, we're not currently offering bingo. So, because bingo took up an entire day. It took up an entire day, and they took over the center, and we've got more important things that we have to currently offer.
Thank you.
Okay. If anyone doesn't have anything else, I guess we're all set. We don't need to take a vote on this tonight. We're still waiting to percolate everything through, so.
Okay, can I...
Just so you know, I'll state I publicly support any request that the senior center comes forward.
Thank you.
I'd just like to remind you guys that we met with you in the selectmen back last year about a request for capital expense for windows, and that was deferred to the annual. So our intent is to put a warrant article on for the annual, and hopefully you'll consider that as well for the 10 windows on the first floor.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks, folks.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
And next on the agenda is the Mendon Upton School Budget Review.
What are you doing? You're another senior.
That's right. I like me.
Hey, Doug. How you doing, Brent? How are you? Good, very good.
Welcome.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Great, how are you?
Heather, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
You're asking me? Maybe.
Hey, there he is. How are you? Long time no see. How you been?
Where you been hiding?
Same little haunts. Yeah.
It goes up, doesn't it?
Well, don't.
I think that's as high as it goes, actually.
Physically move it, like maybe a little bit behind Mike, and that'll work perfectly.
Probably bring it that way some.
No, you're fine.
There's a outlet right there. Joe, there's an outlet right there, right on the table.
Super. Thank you, Mike.
You guys all see
Sorry,
that?
Jay, didn't figure it out.
No, I think
Nope.
Is that yours?
No, that's usually where Kim sits, I think, but
No, this is it. This is about it.
probably better for you to see from there, unless you want to.
Oh, this is it.
Okay, then that's fine. Thank you, Jay.
Yeah. Want my official opinion? That's it.
Well, you said we didn't have to bring a screen, I mean.
Do you maybe want to move that, this whole setup?
Yeah, actually, I probably don't need this unless they ask a question, so. Let's put this over here. Did you turn it on yet? You did?
Yes.
There you go. You know what you guys need in here? You need like a TV screen or something.
It's not in the budget.
Yeah, what we ought to do is have two of them, one on each side.
Yeah,
And then you could just plug in and...
right. Well, actually, you just get an Apple TV and you just
Right.
project.
Yeah, you could,
They're pretty
that's
cheap.
true, right.
Or a Roku
A
or something
Samsung,
like
anything
that.
with a, right.
Famous PowerPoints?
Huh?
One of your famous PowerPoints?
One of my famous PowerPoints. I don't know if they're quite famous.
Well, they're always very detailed.
Well, I try to
It's
give as
good.
much
I know.
useful
That's- it's
information
good.
as possible.
It's very helpful.
How you been?
Good.
Delighted to be back up north for this delightful winter again.
Yeah, I just, I started my day in Nashville.
Thank you. Oh, did you really?
Yeah, so I've been home about 4 minutes.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Call me Mike.
Well, but the question is, are you a senior?
Don't believe me.
I got in the mail, I turned the big 5 December 11th.
Boo-hoo-hoo.
Right on it.
And so my mother, who's 76, says, well, Joey, you know, I can show you the ropes when there's free coffee at McDonald's. I'm like, really?
What am I doing wrong here? Why doesn't this thing unscrew and come out?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I haven't seen those numbers yet. I mean, what his numbers were. I know what we put in there, what
Turn the lights
we
down a little
were
bit?
thinking, but, well,
Jay,
that's
should we turn the lights down a little bit?
I don't know.
even better.
What I could do is,
You want to sit over here, Mike? Might be able to see it better. I won't bite.
I hope not.
You're missing this.
you guys see that? You can, right?
10% healthcare.
Jay, you're not gonna do the presentation, are you?
Me? When?
You're not doing, he's doing the presentation.
Yeah, but I'm the screen guy.
Oh, okay, that's all right.
Part of my
That's
job
the way it should be.
Right.
He's a hired help.
Right. I can't get that leg.
You know what?
Give me a, actually, here.
We'll go old school. Just take my portfolio, see it's right on the chair there, Jack.
Nope, it's too much. How's that? It's crooked, but. Here, you want me to just hold it like this the whole time?
You don't have to hold it. Yeah, don't be silly. Just, yeah.
We'll hire somebody cheaper.
Okay, I saw that.
All right, that's fine. It's not gonna be perfect.
By the-
All right. So you guys all set? I'll be brief and, you know, please interrupt me with questions as they come about. I presented this a week ago Monday to the school committee. This is our first pass at the budget. I think we're pretty close to where we need to be, and I'll talk a little bit about some of our projected expenditures and our expected revenue. Realize, as we do always this time of the year, we're using the governor's budget's numbers for our anticipated revenue. As we do always, every year, the budget subcommittee of the school committee drafts some goals, because I think the best budgets are framed around a set of very clearly articulated goals. So first and foremost, you'll see that this is a budget to maintain level services for all of our students in the district. I think right now the district is in an excellent place because of the outstanding support of both Mendon and Upton, and I'll talk a little bit about that further. Secondly, we'll be entering the 5th year of our 5-year strategic plan, and that plan is really about excellence, innovation, but something that we always talk about is continuous improvement and continuing that cycle of continuous improvement. And then as always, you'll always see this as a goal, particularly on my watch, and I don't intend on going anywhere, is to always look for efficiencies wherever we can and to maximize those efficiencies. And I'm lucky I have my partner in crime, Mr. Byer, who really leaves no stone unturned in pursuing cost savings. So as I said, I think we're in a very, very good place as far as where we are this year, the 16-17 school year. I'll show you a slide in a minute. We're in very favorable place as far as our class sizes, kindergarten through grade 12. Class sizes that I think that are very reasonable and conducive to student learning. Our high school is enjoying some amazing success. Just last year alone, it was named as one of 5 commendation high schools across Massachusetts. It was named that by the State Department of Education for not only really high performance on MCAS, but growth. The number of students, the percentage of students both in ELA and in math that we moved from just proficient to advanced was very, very significant. As a matter of fact, it was 1/3 of all the high schools across the Commonwealth. Plus, we found out in August, we were named as one of the top 500 high schools across America by Newsweek magazine, looking at a bunch of different indicators related to college and career readiness. So huge accolades, not only for the NIPMUC staff, but also K through 8, where we take kids and where we get them ready. So it's just an amazing honor. We've had some success at MISCO. Something that we're very, very proud of is at present time, oops, that's popping up, sorry about that.
Getting on lazy online.
Let me get rid of that.
It's easy to get it online, just not easy to get it off the screen.
Right.
Right.
It's there for good.
There we go.
I think too, isn't the high school ranked pretty highly here in Massachusetts as well?
Absolutely.
Shot up quite a bit. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a level 1 school, and if you rank its percentile for 2016, it was in the 96th percentile. So only 4% of high schools across the Commonwealth do better in the standards and accountability ranking. So we've had a lot of success at MISCO as well. At present time, it's 73% of our kids participate in one of the music programs. We've also, in the 2 years since the override, we've expanded a lot of our extracurricular and athletic opportunities with new varsity sports that our students are able to access. We've had a lot of success. Now it's building at the high school, but particularly at Clough and Memorial and at MISCO in implementing the inclusion model, which means for those students who receive special education services, the overwhelming majority of them are receiving it in the context of the regular classroom, so that they're getting in-class support from the special educator, but also getting the content from the regular teacher as well. We've done a lot of work in that area district-wide. Something that's very big across our state, and it's been a huge professional development emphasis, is something known as social emotional learning. If you think about it, there's been a lot of emphasis and, quite frankly, a lot of stress and anxiety around standards, around high-stakes testing, and so on. But it's also incumbent upon us to meet our students' social emotional needs. I don't have to lecture you guys. You know how stressful the world is. You know the new pressures. You know the new reality of the families our children come through. So we've put in some new targeting program, some new pro-social skills anti-bullying program known as Second Step. At the elementary level at Clough and Memorial, we have a program known as KCR, which stands for Kindness, Caring, and Respect, and explicitly teaching our youngest students these types of skills and so on. So something that we're also very proud of and had a lot of success. And as always, the curriculum is something that's always in review. It's dynamic, it's not static. And through having the restoration of our curriculum director, Dr. Maureen Cohen, we've had a lot of success in ensuring that at all content areas we're consistently reviewing the curriculum. So I think first and foremost, we always have to take a look at our enrollment. our official October 1st enrollment is 2,273 students, which is a decline from last year. It's kind of ironic that I'm following Kevin. I'm kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum where Kevin's talking, is Kevin still here?
Oh, he left.
Talking about the seniors, I'm talking about the little ones, and I'll show you guys some graphs in a few minutes. We are getting grayer, and there's been a decline in enrollment, both in Mendon and Upton, and actually probably about 90% of communities across the Commonwealth. And that trend will continue. So we're projecting that we'll have approximately 40 fewer students district-wide. When you break it down, as we do every year, and look at the two communities, it's roughly 45% of our students are from Mendon, and about 56% are from Upton. That's completely unchanged from October 1st, 2015. Okay. I talked about our favorable class sizes. As you can see, it is a general trend downward. You know, I go back to my very first year as superintendent, 11-12. We pretty much were in the mid to high 20s across the board. Okay, I'll never forget, oh, that stupid thing keeps showing up. Oh, you don't see it on your screen, good. My first year as superintendent, 40% of our classes at Nipmuc were at 30 or higher, okay? We're, as you can see, based upon average class sizes, we're nowhere near that, okay? So this proposed budget is for $33,435,516. Right now, we are assuming a revenue-based budget. So you're going to, and I'll point out in the documents, two sets of numbers, one just looking at the expenditures, one looking at the revenue. They're slightly different, okay, but the revenue right now using the governor's budget assumes a 2.55% increase. It's for level services, but keep in mind, I am calling for a reduction of staff that is commensurate with a decrease in enrollment. So I'll talk a little bit more about that. Maintains what we have in place right now as far as services for our students, and as I said, maintains what I consider to be optimum class sizes that are conducive to learning and builds upon our focus on improving teaching and learning.
So you're going to go through at one point what, especially with the declining enrollment, what the drivers of this 2.55% increase is?
Doing it right now, my friends. Great. Okay. So right now, as far as our salary increases, right now what we've got budgeted overall, including our steps and lanes, would be an increase of about $408,000. So that represents our current staff minus 5 FTEs, or full-time equivalents, okay? That is spread across elementary, middle school, and the high school. The overwhelming majority of that is basically coming through attrition, specifically folks that retire, and we don't replace them. Then there's one situation where it's a couple classes, a program that we can consolidate. Right now, and this is the biggest driver, but I think we can be cautiously and realistically optimists. Right now, our first pass, we're always very conservative with our health care. Right now, our expenditures are assuming a 15% increase in health insurance, which comes out to be about $689,000. That's a huge hit.
Yeah.
The trends on municipalities that we've heard from our agent is somewhere in about the 10 to 11% range. We're fairly confident we can get it to about 7%. Okay. It's something that we've been tracking. We had some real heavy hits going back into last spring and the summer, but we've also had some real favorable months of recent where we've been in the ballpark of about 78% as far as our loss ratio. Something we do know, and I'm sure the town knows, we've already gotten our assessment for increase in Worcester County retirement, which came out to be a 6.6% increase. And we've also budgeted 25,000 less in unemployment. We have signed a new 3-year contract for our transportation. We're maintaining Telstone and Sons, and that is a 6.7% increase, which we may be able to ameliorate a little if we can consolidate some of our bus routes, which is something that we're exploring right now, and a relatively slight increase in special ed transportation. As far as student services, a large driver right there is an increase in out-of-district tuitions. And that was a situation of some families moving into our community. All of our other lines within student services are completely level. As far as buildings and grounds, this is some places where there are some key reductions. This is the first year where our solar carports plus a solar ground unit in Dayton is now online, and we're projecting out $46,000 in solar credits from using that. And all of our other line items are completely level funded, with the exception of about an additional $6,000 to upgrade some of our security cameras and software. Mike?
So in employee benefits, you talked about 15% increase in health insurance is what you're currently budgeted, but you think that's going to drop by about
Yes.
half?
Yeah.
Right, from 15% to about 7.5%.
Correct. And really, right now, we have a gap, and between that and, really, this is like my last slide, but between that and how we think the House and the Senate budgets will go based upon prior funding of Chapter 70 and regional transportation, we're fairly confident that we are going to close the gap.
Mr. Real has a question.
Well, Mr. Burke?
Joe, can you do me a favor and just list the contributors and the salary increases? So I see steps and lanes. Is there any other contributors in the salary increases? Is it COLA? Is it anything?
So right now, we are in negotiations. So we have, we think, a modest but realistic assumption for a COLA. And then we also have the steps and lanes in there as well. Mark?
Could you elaborate on the out-of-district tuitions? What are those? Is that special ed? Is that?
Yeah, out-of-district tuitions, Mark, are students who are outplaced, okay? Right now, believe it or not, and I think I have it in a slide, as you can see, we're projecting it actually to decrease. So you probably say to yourself, what are you talking about, Joe? That's 3 less. Shouldn't that line go down? There's a huge variation in out-of-district placements. You can have a student with autism that has some behavioral needs and is an out-of-district placement for $55,000 to $60,000. Or you can have a child that has multiple disabilities that is a full-time residential placement that costs upwards of $230,000 to $240,000.
That's right.
Okay.
And so what you said was, you essentially had some families move into the town of Mendon, and those...
And Upton.
And those students, typically, if they're already placed in those outer district placements, that's been recommended by their team at the school they're coming from, and we continue to maintain those placements.
Correct.
That's
So
right,
what-
we don't
So what
really do.
happens is, if the child moves into your district post-April 1st, then you're not responsible, but then the following fiscal year, you are responsible. So we had a child actually,
4 kids come in after April 1st.
yeah,
So they're here now, but other districts are paying this year, but we get to pay next year.
But next year, we're gonna pick up the bill.
correct.
Yep.
As far as in our operational budget, technology is really a place where it's a continuation. I think we've made some very smart deals as far as keeping our technology for our students and staff current and very much using a leasing model, which has made a lot of sense. So a lot of it is a continuation of leases of smart boards or interactive whiteboards that we have at the elementary and middle levels, and then a continuation of desktops and laptops through both HP and Apple. Our textbook line is actually decreased, and it's decreased for the simple reason that making a strategic decision to go to digital texts at the middle school and the high school has actually saved us money over time. And then this is the second of our 2 years. A year ago when I came to you, one of our new expenses was going to a new K through 5 mathematics program. So FY18 is the second year of a 2-year payment on that. Okay, so those are our major drivers there.
And that'll drop off.
Correct.
Yep.
So our initial expenditures, when I take into account, and again, really the big delta there is the healthcare insurance is a 3.95% increase, okay? As far as what we have for anticipated revenue, in the governor's budget, we get a whopping additional $20 per student, which translates to us for $42,860. Our regional transportation is actually level funded. So you're probably saying to yourself, well, if it's level funded, why are you showing an increase of 117,081? There actually was a discrepancy in what they put in our cherry sheet at the end of last fiscal year versus what they have in place for this year. So luckily, that discrepancy was to our favor, okay? Decrease in net charter reimbursement, we have all of, what is it, 5 or 7? I always forget.
Charter, 7 kids.
We have 7 students from Mendon and Upton that access charter schools, either in Marlborough or Franklin. So the longer they're there, the less you get in reimbursement from the state. So our net charter is actually, our charter reimbursement is going down. So our state aid is at an increase right now in the House 1 or governor's budget at about $143,000. As far as what has been put in place, as far as, and we're told that these numbers won't change as far as minimum local contributions as dictated from DESE. The MLC to Mendon increases by $183,527, and to Upton by $221,400. Carrying over the operational additional, the total increase as far as the local assessment for our FY18 budget would be $261,917 to Mendon, and matching that proportionally would be $319,804 to Upton. So again, looking at the revenue, our local assessment increase would be about $581,721. We are projecting to allocate about $150,000 in additional dollars from allocation from E&D, or our excess and deficiency account. I'm always asked this every year, how much. It was certified in the fall for $1,024,000. Okay? We're seeing some of our reimbursements that we're getting through Medicaid and both the vision accounts, which come from the feds, decreasing. So we've decreased that line by $45,000, but our district receipts are a total of about $650,000.
Go ahead, Mark.
For receipts, where is the school choice receiving tuition? Where is that calculated?
School choice is in a revolving account by state law. So what we do in our budget is we actually allocate choice out of, we got revenue versus expenditures, right? We allocate a certain amount of teacher classroom salaries, and we charge it to the school choice account to use school choice money. So we're anticipating, I believe, around $600,000 of school choice tuition to use this year, which is approximately what we're getting in as far as our net revenue versus expenditures.
We have right now, and you're bringing up an incredible point, because I want to build upon that, Mark. Right now, we've got about 165 children choicing in, and roughly 42 choicing out. We're at a tipping point where you don't want to mess up with that ratio, because keep in mind, for kids that choice in, we're getting $5,500 per head. It's nice supplemental income, but you don't want too many, because keep in mind, it costs between $12,000, $13,000 per student to educate a student within our district. So I'll talk a little bit more about that when we talk about enrollment.
But just to elaborate, so when we create our budget, we have a salary, teacher classroom salary lines. We have an amount there, and then I put in a reduction of a certain amount to offset it. So those accounts during the course of the year always show deficits until I transfer those charges to the revolving account.
So
And that's how the state wants you to do it.
So you're getting, with the governor's budget proposal, another 100,000 or so. That would help offset some of these costs that we're looking at?
No, Jay has already built it into the operational budget.
Our net choice is about the same for next year as it was this year. They may show a higher amount coming in, but there also is a higher amount going out.
Sending tuition, school choice sending tuition has increased $900, so it's not really equal.
Let me pull out the cherry sheet and take a look. Is that what you're looking at, the cherry sheet?
Yep.
So I have receiving tuition is going from what they estimate to be 810,000 to 916, and sending going out, right? So it's showing a net increase of about 100,000, and that's why we're allocating 600,000
This
for
year,
next year's budget.
this year we allocated 500,000, Mark.
Okay, so I'm just saying that we don't see that really, that's an increase in revenue on top of what's here.
And we use it to, we offset the expenses, so if we didn't offset the expenses, the assessment to the towns would be higher. So we reduce the assessment to the towns and charge it to the choice account.
If you go through our line item budget, Mark, it's actually a distinct line that shows a minus.
I get that. What I'm saying is, if we're increasing, we're getting more in that revolving account, so you get 100,000 more there, you're gonna use that to pay for some of these increased expenditures. So it's that number, 100,000, plus the expenditures are increasing even more, is what we're seeing. You see what I'm saying?
I do see what you're saying. I mean, yeah.
You're getting 100,000, but we don't see it here. And then on top of that, we have all these additional.
No, you are seeing it here in the sense that you're seeing the bottom line of what the salaries are. Because realize, by per building, we detail in line items what the salaries would be, and then there's also a line item that subtracts out the school choice.
I mean, if what you're saying is that the expenditure side of the budget would be more if we weren't offsetting it with choice, yes, you're correct.
Right.
And the revenue side would be less if we weren't offsetting it with choice, right? So the thing you have to keep in mind is this is our general ledger operational budget. On the cherry sheet, they always put school choice in there as part of the cherry sheet, but they tell us it's not part of your general fund, it's not part of your operational budget, it has to be in a revolving account. So we do it the way the state tells us to do it. Why they put it on the cherry sheet, I don't know, and when I have to report at the end of the year report, they do the same thing, but then they tell us to keep it in a revolving account. We didn't used to do it that way, but when I started reading the rules, I figured we should probably follow them. So you'd have to ask the state why they do it the way they do it.
I don't know, I'm just saying, I think it'd be helpful to see that, even, and say it is separate, but it's money being used to offset the budget, just like you use E&D, to see that, what's in that account.
Do you have the grants and all that stuff on this presentation?
I just feel like that would be beneficial.
If you,
show it on our funding sheet.
Mark, I think you have this document that shows supporting documentation. I would invite you to look at page 3. And page 3 covers grant, choice, and circuit breaker, and it's actually detailed there. So the bottom line is when I talked about this is looking at the revenue increase. Right now, conservatively, again, using the governor's number, it's a 2.55% increase, okay? This is the sheet, these two slides are basically what is on your handout, again, the supporting documentation, what we've referred to as the funding sheet, showing the breakdown. Really, the key thing is for our two communities. Now, if you notice, and I'm sure all of you are very, very cognizant of this, under Mendon, you see a lot of red, which is a good thing, because as you know, the high school bond comes off the books for FY18. So actually, even with the increase in the operational assessment, the total assessment to Mendon is actually decreased by $113,893. Okay? And the same thing obviously applies to Upton as well. So as I said, kind of in concluding, if you were to look at that 3.95% increase in expenditures versus the projected revenue, we have a gap of $459,027. But the variables, obviously the biggest variable that we hope to come to closure on in very early March is our health insurance. The House and the Senate budget, to give you perspective, last year Governor Baker's budget had $20 additional per kid. The House and Senate came out to be $55 additional per student. So the if we were to follow route with that for FY18, that would represent approximately another, what would you say?
What, go up to 55?
55 and
65,000 maybe.
Another 65,000. And then obviously, if we could close that health insurance gap, that would represent about another 300,000. So we're confident, the closer we get as we work through the spring, that we'll get there. As always, literally today was day 1 of kindergarten enrollment at our 2 elementary schools. So there's always a little variability there. I do want to show you, I wish Kevin was still here. We work with an organization, most school districts do, known as NESDEC, the New England Staff Development Corporation. And they've been really good as far as predicting what our enrollment is going to be. I think I showed you guys this graph last year where the blue actually represents live births in our two communities. And then the green represents how many kids 5 years after these little kiddos were born actually enrolled in our schools. It's not a perfect correlation,
Pretty close.
but it's pretty close. So if you can look at 11 and where it ends 2011, 2016, those are the kiddos that are actually our kindergartners this year. We're anticipating probably a little bit of a spike for September of this year in kindergarten. But then again, you can see that trend line slowly decreases, again, looking at live births. So in the larger picture, 2016, everything to the left are real numbers of our kids, and after, to the right of 2016 is the projected. And again, barring some amazing economic boom and housing boom and make Mendon great again and everything is wonderful, we're probably going to continue to see this gradual decline. Okay? So these are the real numbers, at least to 2016, and then you can see the projection. Okay? So, you know, I wouldn't be shocked as I come and see you guys, you know, next year I'll be telling you, okay, we're looking at another decrease of 40 students or another decrease of 50 students, and we make the adjustments what we can. You know, and I think what we've put in place is very reasonable and really protects our instructional core. So as always, I think it's about following through on our strategic plan, and as I talked about, really our mission is always around being a model regional school committee around three things: excellence for all kids, innovation and providing innovative programs so all kids can be college and career ready, and again, that cycle of continuous improvement, never resting on our laurels. So, as I said, we hope to finalize in early March our health insurance, and hopefully we'll have a better number. In the school committee, you know, to be statutorily in line with the town meeting, we'll have their open budget hearing at NIPMUC on the 13th of March. And obviously, please come, you're more than invited to hear our presentation and our deliberation. So are there any other questions I can answer for you?
Joe, just real quick, on your gap of 459,027, you're showing some variables still out there.
There's still a long way to go.
Health center budget, et cetera.
We'll see if the health insurance
Salaries, obviously, your
comes in
contract
what the
negotiations.
state gives us and what the affordable.
Yes, yeah.
So should we anticipate some possible efficiencies there?
Quite possible. Well, that will be the goal.
And then in that case, if we're successful on all four of those initiatives, for the variable reductions, does that get translated to a cost savings of the town?
It could. It could. There's a lot of variability right now. A lot of things in play.
Projections for now.
You know, we'll definitely stay in touch as the spring progresses. We just had our first negotiation session, was it last week?
Yeah.
Was it last week?
Yep.
Snow days mess up your head a little bit. So, we'll see. You know, what we've put in for assumptions, I would characterize as conservative, yet realistic, yet market value.
The other thing, Chris, you got to keep in mind is our town meeting is first week of May. The Senate won't even have heard the budget by the second week of May, and they won't, the governor won't sign the budget until July sometime, long after, you know, you've done your budgets, we've done our budgets.
No, we don't.
That's when we find out for sure.
So did you see gas?
I don't think it'd be hard to convince the public to lower line items if we find efficiencies later on.
I don't think, yeah, maybe not, you could be right. That's why you're a selectman.
That's
You're wicked smart.
All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time. We'll look forward to that meeting on the 18th with good news.
I'm sorry?
I said we'll look forward to the meeting in March, the hearing with good news.
Okay.
Thanks.
Honestly, I don't think anything's going to change between now and March 13th. The only thing we may hear about is the...
Insurance, right?
The insurance, and, well, you know how that works, right?
Yes, I do.
We have an argument on why it should be 7%, but whether the insurance company agrees with us is another story.
No.
Right?
Right.
We'll know.
And now the next agenda item is the Blackstone Valley Tech budget review. Let's see what it means. It means nothing yet, because it's all up in the air, but.
I will try to move on the commission, when you have a commissioner.
Yeah.
I will try to.
Oh, okay, great.
Good evening, everyone.
Welcome.
Hi, Will. I'm
Thank you
joined by my school committee member, Dennis Braun, but in addition, I have Eagle Scout candidate Chad Lamont working on his 21st merit badge, who joins me here in the audience, and as Maroli is, in one of his many capacities as a scout leader, knows the significance of the 21st merit badge.
That's right. That's the last one, right? So citizenship in the community, is that, or communications? Well, take good notes.
Yeah, he has a tutorial going with the superintendent on, to be followed up. He won't rely upon this meeting alone to become fully cognizant of regional finance involving 13 communities. As always, I accepted the invitation to appear, but in fairness, it should be known that the school committee has not finalized its budget. It's a few weeks away, kind of thing. Obviously, it's not starting from scratch, and it's been building along the past several months. Hey, Jeannie, Michael, Norman, so that the current projection is based on a 3.5% total increase. I'm sure you, as well as we, monitored the state's absolute minimum contribution, and we were, in the sense of, I wouldn't say it was the best news to have discovered that the state's calculation directed us to increase Mendon's absolute minimum, which is a significant component of the budget, by $139,487, okay, we're roughly $140,000. And the district, as it has in the past, will maintain a modest additional assessment, which I project for tonight's meeting to be $31,417.
So right now, I show in my budget for the current year, the minimum local contribution is $794,690. And you're telling me, and I didn't have that number, you're telling me the state is saying that the minimum local contribution is going up by $140,000.
You are correct in both numbers.
Okay, and then...
And maybe just add one more specificity there. The state's minimum contribution, you referenced the previous one, the current year, of $794,690, that is 100% correct. The new number provided by the state is $934,177. That's 934,177, which is an increase of $140,000. Okay? Was there a follow-up question, Michael?
Yeah, and you talked about an additional assessment. Is it the fully loaded number, or is there another?
That's a fully loaded number, okay? The town has an increase of 7 students to Blackstone Valley Tech, which translates to about an 8.75% increase.
It's 7 students? Is that the same number in the letter that you sent me in the fall? Was it 6 before? Or?
Yeah.
Well, it's 7 now.
It is 7 now. There were some adjustments based on any more accurate information provided by the addresses. Oftentimes, with the 13 communities which are contiguous, we get notifications of a correction. I get my mail here, but I live here, that kind of.
So what's the total?
Your Minden's total went from 80 to 87.
87.
Okay. 87, yeah.
87 enrollees as of October 1st. We seldom have much migration after October 1. For the record, periodically, if we have requests to join the student body after October 1, we honor it, okay, if we have an empty seat, if we have an opportunity. The total, sorry, question?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so, I don't feel that the numbers are particularly, advantageous, if you will. I mean, in the sense of these increases are a lot to bear, and we recognize that and know that, because a significant part is totally out of our control, okay, as far as the state. It does concern me, and we've had conversations about this over the past few years, in the 24 years in which I've served you, that the state is making certain determinations of Minden's ability to pay, which might far exceed that which the Finance Committee believes the town can truly bear and accept. But there's no question, that's a particularly healthy increase of that minimum contribution, and it certainly caught our eye, and I'm not surprised if it caught yours as well. If there's good news in the numbers, and I'll be glad to provide additional insight, the town currently pays its debt, so-called mortgage, if you will, at a 2.6%. There would have been a 3-year enrollment average at the time which the debt was authorized, but it has an occupancy rate or participate of 7.1. So I guess if there's some good news, it means more students are benefiting, but the 20-year rate for debt doesn't change. Okay.
Yeah. It's based on what it was when it was
That's right.
when it was incurred.
Yeah. So
Right.
better that a town, the town is enjoying more seats for what it pays than the reverse, where you'll be paying for seats which another town would be taking. So, the school system continues to do projects in the town when requested. They include some work for some signage for the Park and Rec. We did some design, conceptual and drafting for the Taft Library, Farmer St. Michael's. The Universalist Church had some, and a variety of other smaller projects. But it's been a while since we've tackled anything major, Michael. The school system is currently assisting the town of Millville, one of your sister partnering communities, for the fact that their town hall is I guess, condemned. So we're renovating, a major renovation of the Legion property down there and converting it into a town hall. And also assisting the adult special ed community with some significant grants from Lowe's for the alternatives building over in Northbridge. So a couple of projects, and we're always looking for projects that, first of all, have to be safe, they have to generate learning opportunities for students, and in some form or other, give back to the communities. The project in Northbridge happens to be funded by grants from Lowe's. The second grant is of $25,000. School system has applied for a $500,000 equipment grant under the governor's economic stimulus bill, and we expect to hear soon. The preliminary feedback has been, let's just say, encouraging, but not at liberty to say yes.
Is that money that you get from the state, is that something that's additional, or is that something that substitutes other areas? In other words, is that going to benefit the school, or is that going to benefit all of the towns directly by reducing what it is that we need to
It benefits
contribute?
the school, and I hope it benefits the town, because we
Obviously,
did
right.
not include it in the budget.
That's my question.
So, which also means you
So
can't...
it's not a substitute, it's an addition.
You can't take it out of the budget, because we didn't put it in the budget.
Right.
We kind of depended upon it. And when things got as tight as they are, and we figured, you got to take some risk, okay? And so we removed almost all the capital assets, and we'll rely upon the stimulus grant, hopefully it'll be awarded, and the Perkins grant, the federal grant for vocational equipment.
Do we have one of these we can give him, just so we can...
The district over the years, each of the 24 years, has prepared, yes.
The chairman would
All I wanted to do is,
share with you.
and I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you look on this, you know, the detail of our budget, and you look under line item 310,
Yes?
you can see where I pulled those numbers from when I talked about, and we have some blank numbers, or some blanks here in the figure where I placed this minimum local contribution, 934, 177, and then we have this transportation, capital equipment, and retiree medical.
I see.
Rich, wasn't there something retiree medical, or there's one of these that's outside of the rest of them?
Well, the additional contribution.
Right. So I guess what I'm trying to do is fill in those blanks as best as you can.
And I'll be glad to do that to the
Okay.
best of my ability.
Right.
Okay? Rich and I have chatted about this before, relative to how best to classify and which column something. The retiree, and there may be a different philosophical views on retiree medical. But the retiree medical was basically, the recommendation is whatever you did when it first was created, as far as where you classified it. And since I have 40 years in the business, I happen to recall exactly where we classified it. We put it in the category that it remains.
Okay, so you're
So that's why
consistent,
it's
you
in
keep it where it started.
transportation, capital equipment, and retiree medical. All right, hope that's consistent with Rich's. Yeah.
That's what I recall.
Yeah, okay. Having said that, the retiree capital equipment, transportation number, I'd use 107,175, like 107, 175.
Okay.
Okay. I think we've already covered the minimum contribution, right?
31.
No, that would be the additional assessment, sorry, no. Okay.
That's what we're talking about, additional
Yeah, okay,
contribution.
so the additional assessment would be 31,417 in my projections. The debt, which is slightly being reduced, as given the new financing, is 12,856, 12,856. And across the board, are we through? Are you okay?
Yep.
What's the total amount then?
That's what
It's coming up, we just,
That's
I
what
want to
we're
give them a
doing.
chance to write it in, okay?
Right.
The total amount, 1,085,625. 1,085, 625.
625, okay.
So about 26K more than what we,
We project.
than what we had, than what we've got built in here right now.
Okay.
No, 30K more.
Okay.
30K more.
Well, wait a minute, see, what did the debt service come down to?
12,856.
The number I've got is 1,059 versus 1,085.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's about 26,
26,000,
about 26K more.
yeah.
Yeah, I think the only difference, Rich, is that they've adjusted for the reduction in debt, and you might not have. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
fair enough.
Okay.
What-
Go ahead, please, Mr. Schofield.
What's driving the 31,000 operational additional? I mean, that's, I have to say, I find it frustrating every year, because no matter how big I think I estimate this number, it always ends up being considerably more. I mean, 31 grand in operational additional, why is that necessary?
Well, the primary drivers for, sorry.
The only thing I was just going to say is that we, I think the letter that we had received in the fall had one less student than what is here now.
Yeah, but that wouldn't
I'm just-
translate into the operational additions, that wouldn't translate
Right.
into the base.
Right, but I'm just throwing it out there, that that's one of the things that,
The principal drivers of the increase for the FY18 budgetary planning include the fact that the transportation provider, which was a single bid, which seems to happen a lot, accepted a existing transportation situation a year ago for a bankruptcy situation, so they kind of bailed us out. And so once they got a free and open opportunity to bid, there might have been a little catch-up in that process. So that was a major increase, a couple $100,000 type increase for regional transportation. Of course, we're transporting from 13 different towns, okay? The health benefit issue, which of course continues to drive issues everywhere. We were initially told to plan on a 15 to 18% range. The new number is 13.2%. We're currently looking for a variety of all options.
so you're still in the same situation that Mendon Upton is, and that number hasn't settled out yet, that's
correct.
That's correct.
Do you have the same optimistic idea that they do, that they think it's going to be around 7%?
No, I wish I did, but I can't, and I wish them well with that, but no, I cannot say that, okay? I believe it's...
They're full of good news.
Well, sorry.
I understand.
So, just the message. Textbooks is, have reached a point where, they're outdated and need to be replaced, catch up with a variety of developments, especially with the technological changes that we face. We will be building in all the salary adjustments. We are also at the table as far as collective
So
bargaining.
you're negotiating
We
too
are.
for a new contract?
Okay, right. But for the purposes of transparency with the Finance Committee, I do not envision the school committee supporting a number greater than 1.5% for salary changes. I know that people are monitoring more closely the grids and steps, okay? They would be covered, but they are not limited to the 1.5%. They are whatever they are.
So you're saying a 1.5% COLA? Is that?
Yes, the school committee prefers to view it as a salary, base salary adjustment. They don't like the word COLA, but okay, I got you. But you're right, yes. Okay. Those are, among the major driving forces for activity.
And when do you project to have your budget hearing?
It's scheduled, sorry, it's right here. Yeah. It is March 9th. And as always, you are invited as well. Plus, we will provide notifications as required.
Okay.
We over each of the 24 years, we provided an annual report. We did send some of these over, but if anybody would need that, I'm glad to share them as far as
Yeah,
kind of a
could
return
you
on
do that?
investment.
That'd be great. Let me. Thanks, Dennis, if you don't mind.
There's a couple more, if you need, or if anybody else needs them. Those are printed by the students. In addition, kind of what we call a view book, which provides greater information on the programs that are in place. Okay, that's also printed by designed and printed by students, sometimes with graduates. Thank you very much.
Does anybody on the committee have any questions for the doctor or anybody? Please, Mr. Schofield.
I just want to make a statement. I know we're being televised, but we just can't keep absorbing increases of this size across an 80 pupil student base. That's almost the same size as the increase we're gonna pay for 950 students to the local school district. It's just, we cannot keep up this pace.
And again, I think, Doctor, you agree, it's a big piece of this is what the state says that we can afford.
That is by far the largest piece of this, okay? By the way, the district will once again, I will recommend to the school committee that they apply $250,000 of excess and deficiency to reduce the total assessments, to bring them to the level they are.
Mhm.
Okay, we've done that at least in the past 15 years. But, I think it's more than blatant, it's quite obvious that we're the major drive here as far as the state's calculation.
Yeah, I understand that, but we had adjusted to that state minimum, got it, understood it, fine, we got 87 students, et cetera. Was not expecting 31,000 in operational additional on top of it. Just was not. So, back at it, go find 31,000 more dollars, Kim.
Good luck.
All right, any other questions or comments?
I'd like to thank the good doctor for his 24 years of service. It's always a pleasure to have you here in front of us.
Thank you, it's been an honor to serve. So,
I do have a question for the potential Eagle Scout. What shop are you in, sir? Electrical. And you're a junior this year? Great. What town are you from? Northbridge. All right. Well, again, welcome. Thanks for coming to the meeting. If no one else has any other questions, I want to thank you for your time, and I guess,
We're glad to keep you posted as we get closer to the finalization of the numbers. Okay?
okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
I'll send you email.
Pardon?
Email us.
Yes, we'll do. Yeah.
We're just going to approve our minutes, and can you stick around for,
Whatever you need.
okay. Do we have minutes to,
Yes, we do.
oh,
Pass them down.
Oh, there goes the,
right. Have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Well, I'm missing from the roll call list here, Gene. I was wondering if I could get that fixed.
That's, the printer ran out of ink.
And add Mr. Guzman on to the,
Were you here?
he was most definitely.
Apologize.
I had to be.
Because he's the one that's making the, he's making the motions.
Making the motions.
He's making the motions, so.
Who's making the motion?
Okay.
Who's making the motion?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of Wednesday, February 1st.
Second?
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Right?
Abstain.
Okay. Do we have any new business? All right, have a motion to adjourn
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
at 8:31.
Is